Hi, so sitting outside the hospital right now. Jakai is on ECMO, which is more or less life support. We came to the hospital August 5th. It's 20 days since then, 1 day since then. Initially we came here because Jakai's heart was in failure, and we've been trying to find a surgeon for since December, kind of continuously getting closed doors or insurance issues, or just people that weren't willing to take a gamble on operating on Jakai. So he was a victim of a botched heart surgery in 2013, where during the heart surgery he was stabbed in the lung by the surgeon. So as a result of him being stabbed in the lung during his valve repair, his lung, of course, was damaged. We were in the hospital for months in recovery because he got stabbed in the lung, and then I guess as a effort to save his life, I guess, or as an effort to for him not to succumb to the surgery or to that injury, the surgeon kind of haphazardly placed a graft in. And this particular graft was put in a way that caused an aneurysm in Jakai's heart. Almost a week went by before I was told that Jakai had been stabbed in his lung. I wasn't told that he had been stabbed in his lung by the doctors. I was told by one of the hospital staff, one of the members of the team that was responsible for his rehabilitation. And so when that was divulged to me, it was like, wow, okay. It was hard. It was hard. But I just tried to remain confident that Jakai was going to be okay, because I had this overwhelming sense of peace about him being okay, although his hospital room was littered with IV machines, medications that were ultimately keeping him alive. Not only did he get stabbed in the lung, and then this graft was placed in a way that created an aneurysm, Jakai's pericardium, which is the sac that surrounds your heart, it was closed. When they closed him up, they closed it too tightly. So when he came out of surgery, he was having a lot of problems. The doctor and the nurses literally worked at top speed the entire night after the surgery, trying to keep Jakai alive. But as I said, I wasn't aware that he had been stabbed, right? So I thought that the efforts were because he was having a hard time, due to heart surgery. So after all of those things occurred, Jakai did make it through that first night. He then progressed on, and some days went by. The doctor said that they would have to take Jakai's heart out of his chest and leave it on top of his chest for a number of days while he was under a paralytic. And so I said, okay, I guess that's what we have to do to save his life. So they did that, and Jakai was under this paralytic. He couldn't move, and his heart was on top of his chest, and I had to watch that for 4 days. But even with his heart laying on top of his chest, beating in front of me, I knew he was going to be okay. God had given me this amazing peace about the situation, and it really did look bad. It looked really bad. The machines were plentiful. The IV pumps were plentiful. There was so much machinery in his room keeping him alive, that I didn't become aware that he even had a window in his room until the day came, the day came that they decided to, put his heart back in, close up his chest. And when that happened, while he was in surgery, I decided to go down and take a shower, just to kind of, cry, because I cry in the shower. That's my cry space. And so I went to the facilities that they have there at the hospital to go and shower and just get myself together. So when I came back up, and he was out of surgery, and I came into the room, as I'm entering the room, there are 16 pumps lined up on the floor, up against the wall. And I'm entering the room, and it was like a movie scene. And the reason why I say a movie scene, because there was this bed there with Jakai laying in it. There was two IV pumps, but I was almost blinded by this beacon of light that was cascading from behind Jakai's bed, from this big beautiful window that was in the room that I didn't even know existed, because all of these IV pumps and machines were crowded around his bed, and that was this small space that I encompassed in the room. And I didn't even know there was a window. And so when I walk in the room and there's all this bright, beautiful natural light, like bellowing from behind his bed, it was a surreal moment. It was like a forehead kiss from God, like, mwah, it's gonna be okay. That's how it felt. So Jakai was awake, and he could talk. Well, he could write on the board because he had a trach at that time. And he got a piece of paper, and the first thing that he wrote on the piece of paper was, "God, thank you so much to the doctors and nurses." That was the first thing he said. He's such an appreciative kid. Like, I mean, I know you're supposed to think your son's great. Jakai is really great. So then he also said to me, because one day I was sitting in the room, and it had to have been God that said to me, "Hey, like, he's probably wondering why he can't move. If he can hear, if he's in there, he's been given a paralytic, but he's not asleep. He just can't move. So you probably need to tell him that he's not dead, because he doesn't know. He's 10, right?" So one day during the paralysis, while his heart was on his chest, I leaned in and I said, "Hey, Jakai, I just want to let you know you're not dead. Everything is fine. The doctors had to give you a medicine, so that's why you can't move. But I'm going to keep the TV speaker next to you so you can have something to listen to." And so I almost wondered if I was doing that in vain, but I said it to him. And so the next thing that he wrote, after he thanked the nurses and doctors, he wrote, "Mama, I love you, and thank you for telling me I wasn't dead, because I was so scared." So Jakai eventually, months later, got better, and we were able to leave the hospital. We went to a bridge hospital called Rankin Jordan. They were awesome. After we left Rankin Jordan, we got home. And when we got home, it was the day before Thanksgiving, and Thanksgiving was that Thursday. On Friday, I woke up and I was floored. Like, my overall health was very poor. I couldn't breathe very well. It was almost like my body just took a very deep breath of, oh my God, okay, we're at home, right? But I didn't get better. And so I went to the doctor and found out that I had a giant aneurysm and I needed surgery now. Really felt like the world was just falling down on top of us, because Jakai survived all that, and this is our second win, and we're ready to live, right? And then boom, girl, sit down because you need surgery. So I was a little blown away. I went to see my surgeon that had done a heart surgery on me in 2009. Talked to him. He told me to get my affairs in order, to enjoy my time with my son. That I had had a very difficult time in 2009, and he didn't think that I could survive a surgery of that magnitude. So I was like, whoa, what is? I don't want to die. What do I do if I don't want to die? He was like, well, I mean, I just don't think you'll be able to survive it. Oh, damn. Okay. Well, so he said, okay, well, have a good day. Y'all don't have like a care cab or something? Somebody drive me home? You just told me I was going to die. And, you know, flask in the back I can hit before I go, or y'all don't got no edible tray or something that I can take a couple pieces from, because now I'm just supposed to drive home with all that and it's okay, because people die every day, B. That's how he was, right? So that was a lot. And so I went home and I cried a little bit, but something wouldn't let me just be broken up about it. Like I was scared and sad, and I was worried because, Jakai just had this major heart surgery. Jakai has a trach now. Jakai needs a ventilator at night to sleep. Who's going to take care of Jakai? I got to be here to take care of Jakai. I can't die right now. Right? I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, dying, it's not really something I worry about. Like, it's not I know it kind of sounds a little morbid, but it's not the worst thing that can happen, right? Sometimes it's the best thing that can happen, to be honest. But I had some stuff to do, and that wasn't the time. So I did what I needed to do. I talked to my cardiologist. We scheduled some stuff with another surgeon. Went to another surgeon. He was like, I not only can save your life, but it's not gonna be one surgery, it's gonna be two. So I got an artificial heart valve first, and then 4 weeks later they removed this ginormous aneurysm that I had, right? So I survived a double heart surgery in 2014, went to college in 2015, started doing my prereqs, and enrolled in nursing school in 2019. So all that time, Jakai was doing awesome. He attended school. He got enrolled in Cardinal Ritter College Prep. Everything was going pretty normal. It felt like life was, progressing. Until, I enrolled in school in 2018. Until we went to a doctor's appointment, and they were like, Jakai's heart wasn't doing well at all. So that was in December of 2020. So I'm thinking, okay, gotta find a surgeon, because the surgeon at Children's doesn't want to do it because, he stabbed them last time. And, the months went by. I could tell Jakai's heart situation was getting a little worse. Well, it was getting worse. Like, he was really out of breath. Things seemed to be progressing. I'm fighting my way through this semester in nursing school. I had some complex challenges in my nursing program. Not academic, but more so, I guess I'll call them cultural diversity challenges. So, well, it was unique that semester, because I had a lot of mommy guilt for staying in the program, and this was going on with Jakai. So in April, Jakai needed to be hospitalized because he had an event with his heart where it just was racing and not slowing down. Took him to the ER. We were held for a day or two. The hospital, though, didn't really seem as if though they were giving Jakai the general course. Like, they weren't getting EKGs. They hadn't ordered an echo. It was just really weird, because it's standard with a kid like Jakai that has heart issues. So I couldn't really understand why they weren't doing like basic testing on them. I thought that was strange. But it's because they knew something I didn't know, which was that it didn't matter what was going on with them, they weren't going to do anything about it. And so the doctor kept saying, oh, we don't know if he had this event that you're saying he had. And I'm like, well, what the hell am I here for? You think I'm just here for a vacation? Y'all think I like being in Children's Hospital? We have a very comfortable home with snacks and nice cozy beds and air conditioning and all kind of stuff that doesn't involve 1,000 people coming in, waking you up at 5 a.m. to draw blood. Like, why do you think I'm here? But while we were there, I kind of protested a little to the cardiologist for trying to send Jakai home without any like lab work. Like they didn't do anything to try to see what was going on, or if he was in trouble. Like they were sending him home like whatever happened, but all right then. And so I kind of pleaded with the cardiologist that was on staff that night, and I feel like I conveyed myself in a way that got us some different results. So the next day we got tests ordered. They consulted with this group of surgeons and doctors. The cardiac team meets once a week to discuss patients and things, and so I was brought up in that conversation, but to no avail. So there were a few conversations had over a few weeks. I felt like I was just being placated, to be honest. Like they were just kind of giving me a little razzle dazzle to make me feel as if though they were, trying to be helpful without looking like they just were saying, screw it. But they were saying screw it. So the semester ended. Now it's grind time because Jakai's heart is getting worse. He went from mild cardiac insufficiency to severe, just a few months. So I knew I didn't have a whole lot of time. So I started shopping for surgeons here, and I decided to come to the hospital that we're at now. I won't name it, and I got a very receptive doctor that was very committed to trying to help Jakai. So we scheduled the surgery. Jakai came into the hospital on August 5th. They did the surgery. They did a surgery that morning. When the doctors went in, they saw things in Jakai's heart that weren't present on the studies, like the echo and the other things. The flies out here are ridiculous, you guys. If you see me doing crazy stuff, it's because they're attacking me right now. But the breeze is amazing. So they went in and found things that they hadn't anticipated, such as Jakai not only had mitral valve insufficiency, he also had aorta valve insufficiency. And for those people that don't know, you have 4 heart valves, right? So out of those 4 heart valves, Jakai had to have 1 replaced and then one fixed, right? So that's a really big surgery, okay? But when they went in the first time on August 5th, what they did was they saw these new things, and so now they have to kind of stop and regroup and then figure out a course, because their initial plan, had to change because there's so much other stuff going on. They found this aneurysm that the last surgeon had created and then left and then never told me about, right? They also found that the graft wasn't working sufficiently. They also found that his aorta was in really bad shape, and this is the valve that had been operated on in 2013. So it's like, not only did you stab my kid in the lung and damn near kill him, you didn't even do what you were supposed to go in and do correctly. You went in and caused harm, and one of the creeds of being a healthcare professional is do no harm. He did all kind of harm. Not only did he do all kind of harm, he didn't even tell me about the harm he did. Not only did he not tell me about the harm he did, but he just went on about his life like he hadn't just greatly affected Jakai's, right? And so I didn't pursue any legal stuff with this guy back in 2013, although he had stabbed the kid in the lung. And that's because the issue that Jakai has with his heart, it could have needed operating on again, which here we are, right? So I didn't want to taint the pool of people that could possibly help him. And if this guy was, let's say, our only resort one day, I didn't want that to be mired by, you know, me seeking legal gratification for what I thought at the time to be a mistake, right? Now I'm feeling like, child, look. But all these things transpired on the 5th. So they stopped the surgery. They came to talk to me and was like, we got to do more than what we thought. There's more going on than we thought. Jakai was really reluctant to do this surgery. Do you think that he'd be okay with us going back in and, you know, let's say tomorrow? I'm like, wow. So y'all gonna wake him up and tell him he gotta have another surgery? I don't know, because he took him a while to say yes to this one. So that was the plan, everyone. Sew him back up after like removing the scar tissue from the lung stabbing. There was a lot of scar tissue there. They removed the scar tissue. They also just did like some prep work to Jakai's body in anticipation on going back in and, you know, actually working on the valves. So Jakai feels like that was just a free surgery for nothing, like nothing got done. I'm like, no, they did some stuff while they was in there. It wasn't what, you know, we planned, but they did do some stuff. So after that occurred, Jakai had a couple days. So the surgery happened on, let's say, Thursday. So he had Friday, Saturday, Sunday to tell us if he was going to allow them to go back in. It took him until Sunday night because he was pretty adamant. Oh, nope, I'm going home on Monday, right? He was pretty adamant that he didn't want another surgery and he just wanted to say forget it. But then he wound up agreeing Sunday night. He agreed Sunday night, and then Monday morning he goes into surgery. The surgery was 11 hours long. It was torture. I was pacing. That was a hard 11 hours. They came out and said that they replaced the aorta valve, that they repaired the mitral valve, that Jakai was going to take a while to get him medicated adequately to support his heart and stuff, but that, you know, he did survive the surgery, because that was another question on whether or not he could survive the surgery. So I'm like, okay. So I get to him, I see him. He has a breathing tube in. Jakai does have a trach. And when we came into the hospital on August 5th, I told the hospital, like, hey, if you guys take his trach out, the hole's gonna close, because it's in his neck, like right there. The hole's gonna close up, and it's gonna be really hard to get that trach back in after the surgery. Oh no, we do this all the time. We don't need you to tell us nothing, Kiva, because we do this all the time, and it'll be fine, and we'll just call ENT and they'll put it back in, and everything be cool. When we at home and I take the trach out to change it, and just for a split second, it's don't got nothing in it, it closes up. So, but okay, yeah, I got it. Let y'all have it. I don't want to be that mom, right? So, comes out of surgery. They go to remove the breathing tube and put in the trach. The hole was closed. Like I said, it was gonna be. They can't get the 5.5 in. They don't have anything smaller there at the hospital. I gotta get in the car and go to the crib and go get a trach. So I do, right? And then when I get the trach, they can't get it in because the 5.5 won't go in, but a 4.5 will. So if you imagine a coffee straw versus a regular straw. So you got air trying to breathe through a coffee straw is way more difficult than trying to breathe air through a standard straw, right? So that was what it was like for Jakai trying to breathe with this 4.5 trach. It caused him a lot of, I'm gonna say, progression, because he was struggling to breathe so bad. His CO2 was high. So CO2, like you breathe in oxygen, you inhale and you breathe out CO2, right? But oxygen, you can breathe that in no time, right? So you can just keep breathing in oxygen, and when you breathe it in, you can get as much as you want. But CO2 is different. CO2 takes time to come out, right? So you can exhale, but you're taking a deep breath and then let it out. You're taking in more oxygen than you're expelling CO2. So when you're a kid like Jakai that has a trach and you're asleep from a surgery and stuff, you're not going to be expressing the CO2 adequately. And Jakai already had an issue with expressing his CO2 when he sleeps, which is why he uses a ventilator when he sleeps. So I'm trying to kind of explain that to the doctors without being condescending, because it's like, you are a doctor, I get that, but he's breathing like this, right? So that's like cool, small respirations, right? And those kind of respirations lead to a high CO2. A high CO2 leads to mental status changes and toxic gas buildup in your brain. And so I get that my kid is chronically ill and he has all these complex things going on, and you guys are fixated on the bigger issues, the bigger stuff like his heart, and something like CO2 buildup is not as, I guess, not on the roadmap of what's the most important, right? So I get that. Days went by. Jakai started, looking like he was having some issues. So they did make it a priority to take the 4.5 out. They took the 4.5 trach out and then replaced that with a 7. That's really big, right? So he had usually used a 5, and so they went from a 4 to a 7. So I was like, okay, that's a big airway. Make sure he gets big oxygen, right? Jakai had days where it really looked like, okay, he's getting better, he's sitting up, the color's looking good, okay, buddy. The 13th day, they let him eat. So I was like, okay, yeah, he wanted hot dogs. I don't really understand why the hell they haven't let you eat in all these days and you want hot dogs. Like, that's disgusting, but whatever. So I got him a bunch of hot dogs. I got him like 3 hot dogs from Dairy Queen of all places, right? So he ate these hot dogs with bacon on them, which sounds disgusting, but whatever.